Hey there, hi there, ho there, hello there, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we bring you the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics, and certainly some exciting things that have happened for the Lady Cards down the week, and we'll cover those as well as also kind of look into the future and see what's in store for basically basketball, softball, and lacrosse, the three main sports we cover this time of year. But we have four on the tee today. Jared is out covering photography for men's basketball and is not with us today. But we got Daryl in the house, we got Case in the house, Jeff in the house, and myself, Paulie. So we always have a fun discussion and certainly envision the same today as we kind of like to do. Let's catch up with the gang and see what's been going on with them this week. We'll go ahead and start with you, Case. How's your week been? What's been happening?
Just staying above water, uh, lit- literally. And yesterday I told somebody that, and I said literally, if not figuratively. But today I'll say literally and figuratively, staying above water. So, been working from home this week. As Monday had to move a barricade to leave the office at lunch. Um,
Oof.
in case anybody's not aware, the first step in Louisville's flood action plan is closing River Road from the 3rd Street ramp up to 8th Street, um, which is how we access the parking lot for my office. So I got the great pleasure of literally driving in the Ohio River to get to work because
Whoa.
they had not yet closed it, and I was at a point where couldn't really turn around. Um, it was not much, right? It was like an inch or two that had spilled already onto River Road under 64. And so I was like, well, I definitely won't be going back that way whenever I leave. uh, but had to move a barricade at 8th Street because they had closed the road. And we're like, well, I need to get out of here. So yeah, didn't go back the rest of the week. But yeah,
I
that
can't
was my
blame
week
you.
with it was working from home and uh, you know managed to not get snowed in too badly. And that was it.
It's got to be harder, I would think, having to work at home, even if you've got a home office and everything, than actually getting up and going into the office per se and doing the job. I haven't been in office type work, golly, since I was a manager for Haynes Corporation years ago, and I can just remember going in mostly with a hangover and telling people to leave me alone for the first hour. But no, it's got to be tougher, I would think, Case.
Not so much. I get used to it. We've got a small office anyway, so you know, with our type of work, um, a lot of times people are traveling anyway, so our small office is uh, sometimes even less occupied. But yeah, it's I've got a good setup at home. I'm used to it. I work with a lot of people that are not in our office anyway, so uh, it is good sometimes to be able to go and be in a different isolated place, like be a little bit more focused. But other times, it is what it is.
And so that's how it works. Daryl, I imagine in your situation down at U of L, you don't get to do a whole lot of homework. I wouldn't think. Mostly it's office work.
I will say it's definitely harder to get out of bed and get in the car and go to work than it is to just roll out of the bed, start some coffee, and walk into my little office. And then there's the whole coworker thing. I'll take Lulu any time over, having to sit next to the lady having her coffin fit and yada yada. But I digress. I love working at home. And this week, the same as Case, trying to stay above water in our basement issues. Same story as last weekend. All this rain and precipitation coming out of the sky is making the ground very wet and my basement very wet. So just trying to keep everything dry.
That part of town down there, because we used to live on Delaware down in Snitzelberg, but
Mm-hmm.
we were lucky in the fact that our house was kind of raised up off the main street. They had built these houses on hills, and if you go up and down Delaware in Snitzelberg, you'll see the houses for a long stretch are up on a hill, about maybe 2 feet high. You just go from the sidewalk and go up the hill and then go into the house. So I don't suppose you have that at your place then, huh?
It's kind of like a hill. We look like our base or our back yard goes at an incline or a decline. So you'd think we were at the top of the hill, but I guess it's a little more higher out front than it is where our house is located. So we're still getting some drainage, and foundation isn't totally solid. So we do have some work to do this year. So just, adulting, trying to check things off the list when I can.
Foundation work is the worst too because make sure and get several opinions before you decide on somebody. Because
Right.
we
Start
found,
knocking down walls.
yeah, we have found years ago when we had a slight issue with that in my house on Delore. We wanted to get it solved, and so we called in uh, a waterproofing company. Guy talked to us and everything for a while, and there was just something about him that didn't quite hit me right. So I did a research on him and some stuff like that in the company he worked for, and I started reading the horror reports of people who had work done by this company, and I thought to myself, yeah, I guess I'm going to shop around here. But we finally found a reputable firm to do it. But yeah, just do your research before you buy, girl. That's all I can tell you.
Yep, day in the life of a homeowner.
Absolutely. Jeff with us. Jeff, how's your work been?
I haven't had any of those problems because I'm unemployed. Not a homeowner, unemployed. So yeah, that's all nice. But no, I did have I had several interviews this week. Panel of interviews for one position, starting in the interviews for another. So some positive developments in the looking for a job situation. Continue to explore technology and tooling, which is a big part of what I do, and continue to take this time where I have hours available to learn stuff and upskill. So skill up in some new areas. Yeah. So same old.
Yeah, productive. If not actually earning money at it, you're still
Right.
productive, and that's a good thing.
Yep.
And
my power steering in my car went out this week. So.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
That's
that's
certainly
a great experience.
Certainly a statement to make about a vehicle that runs only on a power.
Right. It's 5,000-pound car, so trying to drive a 5,000-pound car without power steering is quite the upper body workout, I'll say.
Yeah. And not designed to be driven without
not
power.
Designed to be.
Like an Indy race car doesn't have power steering, but it's at least planning for that in some capacity.
Right.
Yeah, I can remember the old days when vehicles did not have power steering at times.
Yeah.
In fact, the first vehicle I ever had was an old 57 Ford pickup truck. No power steering. And that was fun. I would definitely enjoy
all of my daily drivers have had power steering that I've driven, but it did experience driving some that were in the family that did not towards the early part of my driving experience. So I've experienced it before. So
well, it can definitely make a difference, especially if you're not ready for it. You get into a vehicle and then all of a sudden you realize, hey, this thing doesn't.
Part of the problem with this is that it hasn't totally failed. It'll occasionally kick in, so all of a sudden it's steering easily, and then it'll drop back out, and it's like, oh, okay, hang on.
That's not dangerous at all.
I'm minimizing the driving I'm doing with it. So, but I got an appointment to take it in. So
now, do they have a repair facility here locally for you?
They do
now.
Still have to go to it's relatively new. Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's over off Blankenbaker and J-Town.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
The old Harley Davidson dealership over there. They took over.
Oh, okay, sure. I know exactly where that's at over there. Yeah, sure do. Good deal then. As for me, just another week of kind of doing what I do, hanging out. Uh, Nothing really of major import happened for me. It's kind of a I spend a lot of time surfing the internet, looking at different types of kidney opportunities and things, and beginning to kind of oh yeah, I did get shot down by the University of Nebraska on a kidney transplant, so that kind of sucked because they were a really good outfit, but they were saying, well, with the distance involved and everything, and we would ask you to stay on the facility for 6 weeks, and it might be financially wrecking to you, and I'm like, yeah, probably so. You're right. So just looking at other options. Still looking for an active donor, but I will want to say something just to everybody real quickly. If you haven't signed the back of your driver's license yet, do that, please, because deceased donors are also very viable. And if they see that you signed the back of your license and indicated that you would be willing to donate your organs for people after your death, do that. Please do that. Do it right now. Get your pen out. No. We'll move on into go ahead.
Actually, if Paul's not gonna mention it, I'll be the one. Today's Paul's birthday, 222 day.
Oh my.
So I think we should all join in and sing happy birthday to
No.
Paul.
No, it won't. It will not work. No, do not do that.
I'll
I
sing it.
will.
I'll
You
sing
can-
it by myself.
You're welcome to sing it by yourself. I will not be joining it.
All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Paul. Happy birthday to you. And I'm pretty sure Sonia's coming up too, right? Or she just passed? Passed?
Gonna sing it again.
Yeah, I was gonna sing it to her too, so I know she's listening.
Actually, she went out to our old property today to kind of look at that. We're in the the phases of getting ready to sell that thing. But hers is the 24th. You're correct, Daryl. Just 2 days away, and then obviously then our anniversary is the 27th.
You got so much
So
to celebrate this week.
so they all kind of fall into a little 5 day period there, and it one gift covers all, the way that we've looked at it in past years, and that's fine. So, and as the years go by, it used to be when I was bowling years ago, they always made a big to do about it whenever anybody had a birthday. In fact, we had a birthday committee in our bowling league where we got everybody's birthdays and then would celebrate them on the Friday nights that they happened to transpire near on or close to, and usually involved a cake and filling them full of alcohol for 3 hours while they tried to bowl. Yeah. Pretty fun days, actually. But other than that,
Tell Sonia happy birthday for us, and then also congrats on your girl's anniversary.
yeah, it's hard to believe, but yeah, somehow, some way, we've actually managed to make it almost 40 years. It's a tough thing to kind of look back and think about and saying, my God, I was a young man with hair back then. Holy cow. But the beard wasn't gray, yeah? Anyway, enough on me and enough on birthdays. I say celebrate them once a year and have fun with it. And that's about the best thing you can do. Uh, we do have sports to talk about today, obviously. And let's go ahead and I guess start it out with women's basketball. As the UofL women's team decided to jaunt down to Cameron Indoor Stadium down in Dookie Land and take on a very good Duke team. And I thought it was kind of funny when they got down there. It was in the midst of a snowstorm. The storm that we had finally reached to that part of North Carolina. And so when Wallace was doing his post game remark, he was the final thing he said to everybody was like, Oh yeah. And we brought the snow with us. Hope you all enjoy it. Bye. So, but anyway, the Cards did beat Duke, 70-62. Number 10 or number 11th ranked Duke, depending on what poll you go by. A game where the Cards got out early, kind of weathered a third quarter there where they weren't playing so good, and then the fourth quarter were able to maintain the lead and keep it there, beating a very good Duke squad, a very good coach in Kara Lawson. Uh, and as I think Case maybe mentioned, uh, Duke was undefeated in Cameron this year, both men and women's side.
Yeah, that was an impressive win for Louisville. In general, I thought it had all the trappings of a game that Louisville was gonna uh, not be able to get across the finish line. We've seen a number of times, but yeah, to be the first team for either men or women to win in Cameron this year, very impressive, and a big. Don't want to give them too much of a shout out, but the Cameron Crazies making it difficult for opposing teams to win there.
It wasn't that
Into
crazy though.
into mid February. Well, I mean, it was
They
snowing, so
they had to put the band and the cheerleaders and put a foot in between each of them to take up space.
well, I didn't necessarily mean in our game. I just meant throughout the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
We do need to constrain this to basketball, though.
How do we mean?
It's because volleyball plays in Cameron too.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. So
well, then I take back my
that's a
fun
nitpick,
statement. It was
but
I meant
Yeah.
basketball.
That's
Well, and I
fair.
did say as a program. Well, I said as a program in our texts. Either way, Jeff couldn't help me out. I could have edited the article yesterday, but we just let me leave it up. Wrong
It's
the
not that
whole
big a
day.
deal. It's a nitpicky thing. So I wasn't that worried about it. But
First basketball team not named Duke to win in Cameron. How about that?
But if you took a look at the camera shots they were doing when this one was being televised, their end zones were completely empty.
It was terrible. Like they put ESPN and on the floor like I don't know. I was just like, they don't even give a rolly chair to sit in. And then they put the coach's bench. We get to see the back of their heads the whole time. I hate that.
Yeah, the filming for games in Cameron is not great because they're shooting from a way high angle, and you can't really see a lot of the individual things that go on down there. And other venues are much better to watch basketball on cable than Cameron is, and I'll say that right off the bat.
I will give Cameron some credit. At least you can see the whole court. I flipped on a game the other day that was who was it? Not important. It was some Big West teams, and just the way that it was a kind of a high school gym, really squat, low. You could not see the near sideline because there was stuff in the way, right? And just the angle of the camera, you just couldn't see it. So at least you could see the whole court when Cameron's on TV.
And then the game against Florida State last week, they had some intern on camera who just did not follow. Like it was the wide shot, which is pretty basic. Left, right, left, right. They are going around in circles, just constantly moving the camera when we're at one end zone, and I was just like, it was nauseating. I'm just like, what intern did they bring on the way to the game today?
Based on some of the ones who do the actual video work for Louisville home games, because in the location where we sit there for media, usually there's one camera and the guy's assistant that are right next to me.
There's somebody, their cord technician, I think is their name.
The cord technician, that's fine, who follows the cameraman around to make sure he doesn't trip over his own cord. A very important job.
Yeah, I was going to say critical job.
Yeah, absolutely, because you don't want him all of a sudden, shooting the team, and all of a sudden you're looking face down at the court. He's dropped the camera.
I'm picturing trying to get the shot, but also have no idea where your cord is. Yeah, that's probably dangerous.
So the cord technician is a very important role on that for sure. But these guys aren't really when they do the ones at least at the KFCM Center, they're not always U of L or Louisville based cameramen and cord technicians. Sometimes they come in from other places to do this, and you get some interesting observations from them because they'll chat with me and Sonia uh, while they're there and doing stuff, especially the cord man who has nothing else to do except watch the game and make comments and watch the cord. A pretty simple job description, but they'll talk like, "Y'all usually get this big a crowd in here?" I'm like, yes we do.
Yeah, for your
He,
team.
sa- he says this is great because normally a lot of the times we get instructions not to show all the empty seats. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, that's probably a very good idea then. Uh, and then one guy was just going off about Olivia Cochran. It's like he wanted to marry her or something. She was, God, look at her go inside. Look at that girl work. Whoa, that's incredible. She just knocks them all down. I'm like, okay, well, Miss Cochran is accepting applications from 2 to 4 for her fan club. Just line up over here and you can be a part of that. Yeah. This was a game, guys, and let's chat it around a little bit. There, in the first half of this thing, there were just a lot of unforced errors out there. It's like neither team came prepared to play and didn't really wasn't too engaged to bet it when the ball went up for tip.
Yeah, the second quarter was uh, what 7 turnovers for Louisville and uh, 10 for Duke. Yeah, that was not pleasant. It was multiple times during this game. I just commented that this is ugly basketball, bad basketball. I might have used the term. Even Pam Ward and Steph White said it was ugly. Which, when you got the commentators on TV being like, this is not pleasant for anybody to watch. That's not good. Don't do that.
I feel like we haven't said something like that in a few years, so we might be going in the wrong direction.
It was weird. It wasn't like either team really. I don't know. I mean, Louisville had a week off, but it wasn't rustiness. It wasn't one team just not having it. One team forcing good turnovers. There were some good steals in this game, but a lot of the times they just kind of handed the ball away. The one that stood out to me the most, I think, just because it was kind of pivotal to the game, given the situation, was in that last quarter when for some reason they didn't overturn a call that was obviously out on Duke. But or maybe it was not that. I don't remember. One in the fourth quarter when they handed the ball, like we missed a defense rebound, bounced to Duke, and then they just handed it straight to Jada Curry anyway. I was like, okay, thanks. It was just plays like that where you're like, that's a steal technically, but bad pass doesn't even begin to describe it for a lot of these.
A nightmare for the stats crew to try to decipher.
Yeah, it's like unforced error or steal. I don't know. Yeah, they're just a lot of throwing the ball away. A couple of ticky-tacky walks, but those were almost made up for by the fact that there were some blatant walks on both teams that didn't get called. And not very many offensive fouls. There were a couple, but not a ton. It was just not. It was kind of like watching a football game where the two teams just refuse to hold on to it and fumble the ball all the time. That's what it felt like.
And you had a really good crew in here to call this game officiating wise. I mean, you had Decanter, who is say what you will about her. Everybody's got an opinion on D. Her nickname is TVD because she certainly likes to call attention to herself on broadcast. But she is a good basic referee, and she also had Billy Smith.
Relative to the baseline of women's basketball refereeing in general, yes.
Well, yeah, for women's basketball, good qualification, Joe. Where it's like, yeah, then there's women's basketball, and who do we got in there? But Billy Smith was there too, and he's a really good ref. I've talked to him several times, and he knows the game well. He does have an ear though, and if somebody gets in his ear and gets it in his ear the wrong way, then Billy will get very upset and usually tee them up. So I'm sure that both coaches kind of talked to their players and said, "Yeah, that little guy running around out there, don't get him mad, okay? Because he does have a hair finger. You know what's the term? A hair trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll go off pretty quickly. But hey, certainly the Cards were I think playing quite well here in a place where no one had won before, and the freshmen once again. And we've talked about the freshmen doing wonderful things for us this season. This was a very, very good effort by our freshmen in this game. Thoughts on that?
I want to say one more thing about the production of it. There was a point in the beginning of the game when Thomas looked up at the records for both teams and asked, why did U of L play 3 more ACC games than Duke? I'm not kidding you guys. I didn't get a picture of it, but Duke had a 9-2 ACC record on the TV, and I was like so confused. Was like, that's not right. But later in the game, it was 11-3, yada yada. But it's just like, what is this production crew? We look forward to these, main television productions, and then they get these interns out there that just have no idea. Anyways, and then there were some point issues going back and forth. Anyways, talk about the game itself. Just a really good win. I think it was a little shocking for the program, U of L program, and Duke's program, because I think Duke thought they were a little better than what they played. And when that final buzzer sounded, and they showed Duke standing there in their little huddle, just kind of like, what the heck just happened? What did we just let happen in our house? And it's like Paul said in the group chat, Jada Curry was not going to let the Cards lose this game. So I just feel like this team is starting to turn a corner. It's at the perfect time of the year. It's starting to figure some things out, figure out who's going to step up when it's needed. And it was Jada the other night, and that was her game the whole way. It was her game, and just another really good win for this team. And I'm just, shaking my head about the ones in the beginning of the season that we could have had. But, when you start winning at the right time, that's all that matters. And hopefully down the stretch here, they'll get a few more signature wins. And it's signature because we're playing teams that are in our scope in our area of the ACC rankings. Getting that win over Duke was huge, especially after UNC beating NC State. So we needed that. Definitely can't lose to a Clemson. If you get a win over North Carolina, wow, we'll be in a really good position.
Yeah, North Carolina is a very, very good squad this year.
Yes, they are.
And, coming into our house will help in our chances to beat them. But uh, we went to Duke and beat them down there. North Carolina is fully capable of coming into our house and beating us.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think that they aren't. But something I went over and looked at a couple of Duke fan sites, message boards after this thing. And
That's a good idea. It's a
yeah, yeah, well, I got my share of flack from them also for being in there. But I also saw their main complaint, the Duke fans, was that the big differential in free throws. Like the Cards went to the line 25 times and hit 22 of them, and Duke didn't even measure up to half of that. So
there's not plenty of examples where that's the opposite. Come on. But I get it.
For sure.
I get it.
But it's an easy thing to pick on,
Sure.
And
but I just feel like during the game that Duke was allowed to harass any U of L player, and anytime a U of L player, again, that's my bias, got anywhere close to a Duke player, they blew a foul. I think I vocalized it a few times in the group chat. How is that what they called? I felt like Duke got to play a very aggressive game, and the Cards didn't. But somehow the Cards got more free throws.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. Louisville got called for 11,000. Duke got called for 22. But I think that I think being frustrated about that is box score cruising and not watching this game. Because to Daryl's point, it did feel like Louisville was getting called for more fouls, but they were letting a lot go in this game for both teams. There were some weird offensive fouls that Louisville got called for. there were some weird general fouls that Louisville got called for. One time there was a ball that was bouncing on the floor, and Taj Roberts got called for a foul diving for it. Neither player had possession.
Mm-hmm.
Another time there was a ball that was like quarterback passed into the paint, and I don't remember who was standing there, but was standing there with her arms up, and the Duke player caught it and came down into the Louisville player, and Louisville got called for a block. It's like I don't fully understand. The ball is just in the air, and either way, like watching this game, and at the very beginning, um, the commentating crew was talking about how Duke has a propensity to foul. They're susceptible to getting into foul trouble. They're very aggressive on the inside. So that was in the scout, and Louisville made it happen. A lot of the times in the first quarter, Louisville got just hung around on the um, outside of the offensive end. They were just passing it around the 3-point line, getting up bad shots or not getting up shots at all. And then once they started in the second quarter and beyond, putting the ball in the paint, either driving, getting fouled, putting the ball inside, kicking it back out, moving the defense around, that's when you started seeing more fouls from Duke, because you just put them in a position to foul. And Duke was happy to oblige. For Louisville's credit, they made free throws. All the time, you could see a game where one team shoots 25 free throws, the other team shoots 4 free throws, which was the case in this one. The team that shoots 25 free throws could still lose. I mean, this was an 8-point game at the end of the day. If Louisville's not, what were they at that point? I guess 18 for 21 with a minute left in the game, then it's a 4-point game, and Duke is probably not fouling. And so, it comes down to making free throws and getting the most of your opportunities. And I could see as a fan being frustrated with the final outcome, but having watched the game, I don't think that just picking on the foul calls and the free throws is really indicative of what happened. Louisville really should have taken at least 2 more free throws. No idea what Kara Lawson was doing, letting us run 46 seconds off the clock in a 4-point game, but appreciate it.
Yeah, that was wild.
Separate space in reality there. She must have transported to a different time zone.
But that was one of those examples where I felt like they actually did try to foul it 3 times and then they didn't call it. Like they like getting so close to where further or earlier in the game they were calling those, and then it comes down to that final minute when they know they need it, and then the refs are like, "Nah, you got to actually put them on the ground, and then we'll call it."
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's coaches being in referees' ears, and the effect that has. If I were to start with the sentence, "Hey, Duke shot 50% in this game," and they did, you would automatically think, "Oh, they must have won." No, they didn't. 50% from the floor.
Wow.
64% from 2.
Yeah, it was like 60 something. Yeah, from 2-point range there. But hey,
what
they
we've been
turned the
saying.
ball. I would just think to myself, if somebody told me that Duke shot 50%, I'm going, "Oh, another win for them, huh?" No, it just didn't happen for them. So.
But how many times in a season in the previous few years can we be like, this is a potential loss later down the road because they couldn't make their free throws, like where it's going to be clutch, where you have to make your free throws and you get the win. This was that game. This was the game where they needed to get the win and free throws came through to be the difference.
And we actually shot very well from the free throw line too, which we had been struggling to hit the 70% mark all season long. But for some reason, we shot very, very well from the free throw line down there. And that basically was kind of the story of us getting the win. Anytime, you can go 22 for 25. I think almost anybody would accept that as looking at that stat line and saying, "Hey, yeah, we shot the ball well from the free throw line."
Yeah, and to go back to your point earlier about the freshman, Taj Roberts was huge in this game. It doesn't really scream it from the stat line. She finished with 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 turnovers, 1 steal. But one of those baskets, she was 2 of 6 from the floor. One of those baskets was a huge 3 in the second quarter when Louisville really kind of went on their big run. And then down the stretch, in the fourth quarter, Louisville was on the verge of folding, I think is fair to say. Duke was getting a lot of open layups. Again, you could say that for most of the game, but in the fourth quarter, they were getting a lot of open layups. And Louisville was able to get to the foul line, which, to their credit, like I said, they were driving the lane and not necessarily getting the basket. But Taj Roberts was 6 for 6 in the game from the free throw line, 4 of 4, I think, in the fourth quarter. So to see that from a freshman, obviously we've come to expect it from Jada Curry, who, again, fantastic at the free throw line. She was 9 of 9 this season. She's on track, I think, if I remember correctly, on track to break the ACC record for single season percentage, which is incredible. And, so we come to expect it from her, but for a freshman in those critical moments in the fourth quarter when Louisville was down or the game was tied, stepping up to the line and calmly sinking 2 free throws to either bring the game back level or put Louisville ahead. It was really good effort from Taj Roberts.
And Jeff Walls has said many a time at this stage of the season, the freshmen are really no longer freshmen. They're
Yeah.
sophomores, okay, with the experiences they've had, the things they've done. I think that.
We still
Go ahead,
need
Jeff.
both some really stupid plays occasionally, but hopefully fewer. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they're still going to make some freshman mistakes and errors, sure. That's going to happen, but especially with this Louisville schedule and the teams that they play, this has been trial by fire. We got thrown into the number 1 team in the country in Paris to start the season. Okay, it's like, oh, gee, could it get any easier? No, it can't for you. Sorry, you have to go to a strange court and play the best team in the nation. But we did okay in that one. We didn't win, but we hung in there with them. And this team has really basically gone up against some very, very tough opponents. And I think if Jeff Walls had it to do all over again in making up this schedule, he probably wouldn't gone as heavy. He probably would have took a look at what he had and the roster coming back and the roster he was getting in and said, wow, we have got a lot of big opponents here. And guess what? My team is not that experienced. And gee, I wonder who scheduled this stuff. Oh, it was me. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
And
but
look at the
at the
guy who
same
did
time,
this.
at the same time, you can't predict that 3-4 years in advance when some of these games get scheduled.
That is true. And Walsh does his own scheduling.
3-4 years ago, Haley Van Lithel was on this team and hadn't become necessarily the situation that we learned later she would become. And so, I mean, in 2022, you're looking at a team that's like, yeah, I think this is going to gel, come together. We've got a lot of good pieces and can move forward. And yeah, now we're a team that's made up almost 100% of transfers and freshmen.
Yeah, you take a look at it. There are not too many veterans from previous years on this Louisville squad, but
I mean,
still,
you've got of the homegrowns, you've homegrown upperclassmen. You've got Marissa Russell, Nyla Harrison, Olivia Cochran.
and face it, Russell was basically a bench warmer for 3 years.
Yeah.
She did very, very little and got out there very, very little. It was kind of like you could group her and Romani Parker into the same boat. Going,
Well, and she still is just kind of that glue girl. She only played 6 minutes in this game, but they were huge minutes. They were incredible minutes. She made some game-winning plays in those minutes.
I think Walls had different intentions for her at the start of the season, but then realized, hey, I need to put her back in a role where she's coming in off the bench because certainly some of the freshmen are playing actually better than her. And you want them out there. You always want your best players out on the court, but when you can keep them out there and not get them into foul trouble. So anyway, yeah, a win that surprised the mass media across the nation. They didn't expect the Louisville to be able to go into Duke and beat Duke, especially a top 10 or top 11 Duke. And so a nice win for the Cards. They're third in a row. Uh, they now wait for Sunday, where UNC comes to town to face Louisville. And a very, very good North Carolina squad this year. Uh, I haven't done any real research or looking into them in great depth yet, but I'll just take it around the house here and then see what you all think about them. This is going to be a tough game for us at home, kids. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, we know that they beat NC State, which is not an easy task. So, and they're up there in the top of the ACC, and every win or every game matters for that block of 4 teams to get that double bye. Again, I just think the Cards could really use that double bye, and they just got to keep winning. Can't let North Carolina come in here and put another L on their schedule, because that just makes it a little puts a little distance between these two. I think these two are the ones tied at the moment. Let's see, yeah, 12-3 in the ACC. So this is 100% a battle for third place.
I don't know if it's as easy as saying can't let them. UNC's lost.
Yeah.
UNC's lost 4 games this year.
Yeah.
Those are to UConn, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and the only unranked team that they've lost to who has been kind of back and forth, was Florida State, who they lost to at the end of January by 2 at home. So they've got
none of those games are terrible losses.
Yeah, FSU has some dynamic scores in Lassen and a couple others too.
Right. They've got the win over NC State. They've got a win over Cal. They've got a win over Duke. They beat Kentucky by 19. UNC is. I don't think it's. I don't think it's fake. Or I don't think it's fool's gold, I guess you could say, as far as their performance so far. They have had some weird games on the road. They beat Stanford by 2 on the road. They beat Clemson by 2 on the road. So it being in Louisville is potentially helpful. They only beat Syracuse by 10 in Syracuse. So it'll be interesting. Both teams traveled pretty far between Thursday and tomorrow. UNC coming from Syracuse to Louisville, Louisville coming back home from Durham. And there's also the potential that UNC could look ahead a little bit. They've got Duke on the road next week, and we know as fans of participants in the Louisville Kentucky rivalry, it's a big game. It's easy to get caught up in that's the game up next, and UNC's coming off their big win over NC State. They're like, yeah, we got that big rivalry game. We got another one up next. They recovered to play Syracuse, but Louisville could slip in there. So there's definitely a chance that Louisville can get the win, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, that's definitely the look ahead thing is interesting because it is definitely not only is it a rivalry game for North Carolina Duke, of course, one rivalry almost on par with UofL UK, but it's also we know that Duke is a good team, despite us having beat them. They are a good team, and certainly respect that from them, and just makes that an even bigger game for them to potentially be looking forward to, like you said.
I certainly hope that the freshmen continue to act like they're sophomores, and that the Cards can get a win here against a very good squad. But it's also softball season. Taking a look out the window, you sure wouldn't think it here in Louisville, Kentucky, but it is. And the Cards have spent basically their whole month of February down in Florida. Pretty nice, huh?
As is their custom, yes.
Yeah, and it's a traditional thing that obviously the schools like Louisville and the northern schools do. Obviously, you can't play with 5 inches of snow on the ground and sub-below temperatures. So you go towards warm, and the Cards have certainly done that, going to Leesburg, Boca Raton, and then now in Tampa. All pretty nice places to be in February, I think you might think and say, as the Cards are down there having a fairly good season so far. They've gotten off to a good start, playing not so well against Big Ten schools, but everybody else that they've had on the schedule, they're doing okay against. Uh, 8-4 right now, and played Friday uh, after actually getting a game canceled back on the 19th against South Florida due to weather concerns, where they weren't able to play. But had a doubleheader yesterday down at the USF.
Kind of ironic, right? Like baseball spent their week in Florida, or spent their first couple weekends in Florida, come home to play, and their game gets canceled because of the snow. And softball's like, haha, we stayed in Florida, and then their game gets canceled because of, it's Florida in February, and sometimes thunderstorms are there.
Yeah, you have to kind of question trying to come up here and play any outdoor sport like baseball or softball in February, though. It's a very optimistic hope that you'll be able to get it in. Now, certainly we will be playing at the very, very end of the month here at home, the 26th, against Bellarmine. Let's hope that the conditions are, and it looks like, looking at the long range forecast, it's going to be okay. The weather's going to be okay to play. But the Cards down there at USF played a doubleheader yesterday, beat Kent State 13-3, run ruled them, but then fell to Wisconsin 4-1, and with the Zabala on the mound as well for the Cards too. So this is kind of bat that around a little bit. This is a good softball team with a lot of newcomers that basically Holly April has on it this year, gang.
Yeah, I think 8-4 is pretty reasonable. I mean, you'd like it to be, better than 500, but got to win over a ranked squad already, so that's something.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of new folks on the squad. You also got some returnees, but even among those returnees, some of the names and faces may not be all that familiar. You got situations like Easton Lotus, who's been out injured for almost 2 years, it feels like. She's back on. She's playing spectacularly, which is great. She's part of that, base running speed that Louisville has. And you get some players like that you also need, but a lot of new faces, a lot of faces that are stepping up for the first time, that are maybe sophomores or juniors that you haven't seen in the spotlight as much.
And the Cards, obviously, to go with that, have Holly April was a pitcher when she played. She knows pitchers quite well. She recruits pitchers very well, and certainly has done well with Zabala. But not only Zabala, but taking a look at Gray, who came to us after winning everything in sight in Kentucky high school softball her senior year, came here and has done well. And she's also got Sam Boo. Sam kind of came in unheralded. We didn't really know a whole lot about her or think a lot about her, but she's come in here and quietly done a good job for the Cards. I think everybody would have figured, well, it'll be Zabala, then Brooke Gray, and then see what happens. But Sam Boo's kind of stood up and said, hey, you know what? I want to be a part of this too. Look at me. I can throw the ball pretty good. And certainly did against Kent State, 13-3 game. Thoughts on the Cards in their continued Florida run here?
I was just checking the scores now. It looks like they're playing Michigan up 5-3.
Yeah, that game's final.
Oh, is it over now?
Yep, they went to extras with Michigan. Louisville was the away team, scored 2 runs in the top of the 8th, and picked up the win there. So finally got a win over a Big Ten team.
Wow, right. There you go. Yeah, that makes it
500.
2-2 against Big Ten teams. Is that right?
Let's see.
Yeah, because we beat Minnesota.
That's it. Yeah.
Actually, we beat Minnesota twice.
Yeah.
So 3-2 against Big Ten teams.
Is Rutgers Big Ten now?
Rutgers is in the Big Ten.
Okay.
Yeah, so, Rutgers is in there too.
The Big Ten turnout. The Big Ten is it's another bet. We only lost to Purdue and Wisconsin.
I can't keep up with the conference realignments, guys.
Oh yeah,
Rutgers has been in the Big Ten for like a decade or more.
I thought they moved to the Big East for 5 minutes. I don't know.
They were in the Big East with us. And then,
weren't they in the AAC with us too?
See?
But they moved to the Big Ten.
They went to the Big Ten the same year we went to the ACC.
Yeah, I believe
what? That long ago?
Yeah.
Jeez.
right around there. It may have been a year on either side, but yeah, right around in there.
Time flies.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, gosh. Whew. But
Anyways, um, as far as pitching, like you said, Paul, I mean, I think it's literally one of the most important positions. And if your pitching isn't great, then that's not a good indication for how your season may go. So, the more pitchers available to give Zabala a little break, especially in these tournament weekends where there's back-to-back games on back-to-back days and all that, I think it's crucial.
Well, they got the quantity. The question is the quality of them up to snuff for that?
Right.
yeah, I think the roster
Got like
lists eight people that could either be.
53 of them on the roster or something. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, they've got more pitchers than they do infielders, but but a lot of those are hyphened to players. And what I mean by that is they're
Yeah.
listed for two different positions. Yeah. I've always wanted to see one that's listed catcher hyphen pitcher. Would it mean that she would throw the ball and then run down there and try to catch it? It could be interesting. But no, not just kidding there. The Cards, got some good bets in the game and the win that other players were not real familiar with. Charles Lorenz coming in and batting third for the Cards. And then you've got Bree Despairs.
Despins.
Yeah, Desmond's. I read that wrong. Desmond's batting cleanup for us. Names that are new to us. So Holly making some use of the younger players and getting them in there where they can be effective immediately given the chance.
Yeah, and Despins comes in as a transfer replacing, and I've already forgotten her name because she was here for one season. Um, no, now I feel terrible. I have to go back. I'll come to that in a minute. But it was a little unusual yesterday, or with the score yesterday. The lineup seeing Despins batting fourth. She had been batting second behind Lotus this season, so it looked like maybe April was making a shift in the bottom half of the lineup to bring Chelsea Mack up. She had her batting second, um, getting her small ball skills in play there, and more speed on the base paths, and then leaving Lorenz at third, leaving Lorenz batting third, and having Despins, who's had a great season so far, batting cleanup. But for whatever reason, they scored 13 runs in that game, so it seemed like it worked out. But for whatever reason, elected to go back in the second game with Wisconsin, switch back to the lineup that had been going for most of the season. So, yeah, still a little difficult to figure out what's going on with the lineup, but seeing production up and down the lineup has been very good. You've got new players that are able to get the bat on the ball. You've got players that haven't quite as well been able to do that throughout the season or throughout their season so far, being productive offensively. And then you've got players like Easton Lotus, who you at least can depend on to be a good contact hitter, get on base, and then make her speed.
Still second.
Yeah, right. She's one of those players. It's a lot like Ellie De La Cruz for the Reds, where it's like once they get on, you're like, all right, might as well put them on second. Like,
Yeah,
if they get a single, if they get a single, it's like, well, good job. You basically gave up a double. Chelsea Mack is very similar, where like when she gets on base, it's like, all right, cool. Which is why I think 2 or 3 times already this season she has turned sacrifice bunt attempts into bunt singles because she just lays down the sack bunt, and then the team is just like, we will throw it to first. She's like, well, I'm already here. So
yeah, she's incredible down the line as far as her speed goes after making contact. Yeah, fun to watch. But the Cards are going to have a lot of chances for us to go ahead and catch them at Ulmer. Will certainly be a great time, and I do look forward to that, especially when the weather gets a mite warmer. Yes, indeed. In the little time we got left, we should talk a little lacrosse, I think. Teeter's squad is 2-2 on the season. Started out quite well, but then took to the road, and unfortunately, things did not go well for them on the road. The last time out, they went to Marquette. We're tooth and nail with Marquette for almost 4 quarters, but then a couple of late goals by the Eagles gave Marquette a 13-10 win over Louisville. The Cards are now 2-2 on the season. So once again, a bunch of new faces that we're needing to get used to on a lacrosse squad. I think one of the ones that I think will be very, very interesting to see how she develops throughout the year is Jay Pleck in goalkeep. Uh, there was an intense off-season battle, if you talk to Scott Dieter, about who was going to get that goalkeeping spot, and Pleck won it. And so far she's been in there every minute, and it's 2-2 on the season. Thoughts on lacrosse, gang?
I've been
Well, I think
obviously, as you mentioned with Jay Pleck, obviously they're doing a great job in goal. The numbers have been good. The goals against versus goals allowed, or excuse me, goals allowed versus saves has been a pretty good ratio in all the games so far. Helped along with some pretty good defense also. But that's great to see. I think we still need a little bit of development on the offensive side of things, is mostly what we're looking at. But I think in the defensive side, we're looking in pretty good shape.
I'm a little surprised to have not seen Johns at all yet. Pleck has played every minute in goal for Louisville this season, and she's been good, like you said, Paul. That last game on Monday against Marquette was the first of the season for double-digit goals allowed, but that was a winnable game. Louisville's offense was there or thereabouts. Ohio State, they lost 6-9, so they just couldn't get the offense rolling there. But scored 10 against Marquette, so a little bit more defensively. I would have seen that game. I think, given how it was going, I would have seen that as an opportunity if the offseason battle was as close as Teeter is hinting at. I would have expected that to be the first game where we might see Johns get some minutes. So that's definitely interesting for that to be the case. But they stay on the road today. They're their third game in a row on the road in Berkeley, which is probably a lot pleasanter place to be today than here. Can't imagine why, but they'll get a noon local start there, 3 p.m. Here in Louisville for their first ACC game of the season against the ACC newcomer, Cal.
Yeah, one of the West Coast schools. But I learned a couple things about Jay Pleck early on when she first got here. The athletic director for the SID for lacrosse at the time said a couple things about her. Her first name is Julianne. Don't ever call her that, or she will become a devil. Just don't call her Julianne. She is Jay, and she goes by Jay. And if you call her anything else, she just might take a swing at you. I'm like, okay. Mental note to Paulie.
And that goalie stick is big, so
Yeah.
Interviews Jay Pleck at least 8 feet away. And second of all, don't ever call her Julianne. But and I haven't had the chance to talk to her yet. And here she is, coming up to being a senior, and I still haven't done that first interview with her. So we'll see in time. It's kind of one of those, hey, there are others to talk to, and with her track record here, I don't know if I want to bet on her, but we'll see how that works out. But anyway, yeah, we'll see. It's early in the lacrosse season. A lot of things could still develop. We'll see how it works for the Cards. Certainly losing to Marquette, kind of inauspicious there, but we'll see. But,
it's unfortunate, right? Because
yeah,
in the pregame or preseason interview, Teeter specifically was like, "Well, we're getting a lot of time in the Traeger Center, so hopefully that'll be good for us to get some dome experience for when we go to Marquette." And then went to Marquette, and it didn't matter that they had the dome experience. So,
but certainly the Cards will, I think, found it challenging in the ACC. Such a tough conference to have to play lacrosse in. Wow, just going from top to bottom. There's 6, 7 schools there that you just kind of look at and go, wow, they're on the schedule. Oh, great. We have run up upon that magical hour of noon. Hard to believe. Wow, we've had such a great discussion today, gang. But we will go ahead and roll into our final thoughts segment then. And Jeff has had his final thoughts ready for 48 hours now. Well,
Not quite
maybe
that.
not that. Maybe not
Close.
that long. Go ahead and start us out then, friend.
Yeah, just wanted to do a few tidbits from our volleyball cards in the pros. So PVF, Pro Volleyball Federation, has their All-Star match this afternoon, 1:30, CBS televised, which is pretty cool. Charity Looper will be playing. She was not originally selected as an All-Star, but when Tour member Minna went down with an ankle injury last week, they brought in Charity as a replacement there. So she'll be playing in that this afternoon. Should be a lot of fun. And then that is in Indianapolis at the Fishers Event Center where the Indy Ignite play. And on note of the Indy Ignite, Elena Scott did get moved into the libero position, starting libero position on Thursday night, which has been being called for by a lot of Ignite fans and Louisville fans alike, and did a great job there. So a little bit of a lineup change for them in support of the Louisville Cardinal. And Anna DeBeer made her professional volleyball debut Thursday night. Now, she only played 2 plays. She came in as a serving sub in the second set, served 1 serve, and then the Ignite lost the point. And then she came in the third set as a serving sub and did a service error. So not a particularly auspicious start of her pro career, but it is a start. And the coach said she's probably about 80-85% recovered from her injury. So starting to work her way back into the lineup. So good to see.
So good. So good to have her back.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely so. Daryl, what you got for me on final thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking about it this past week when I was covering for Jared. I meant to recap the women's golf this past weekend as they were in Florida as well, enjoying the Sunshine State. The results, they tied for 7th out of 17 on Sunday, 6th on Monday, and then 11th on Tuesday. So looking forward to keeping up with them over the next few weeks and hopefully get a chance to get out there and meet some of the squad and the coach and maybe even play around sometime. So once they get back into Kentucky to have some matches, if that's a thing as well, I'll look on the schedule. It's like they got Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina. So actually, maybe they're not going to be playing here. But yeah, it'd be nice to see them and wishing them success in their spring seasons.
Yeah, that beautiful Louisville golf club out there near Simpsonville out there is certainly a great place to have a match. I mean, an incredible golf course. I've never actually played it myself, but was able to go out when they had a couple of events out there for a lot of the teams that they just decided to hold them out at the golf club, and got a chance to kind of look around and see the layout and talk to a couple of the golf people, and of course I've talked to head coach Kelly quite a bit as well. But certainly a good situation. Let's hope that they can do well with that. That'll move us down the line of Case. Case, final thoughts?
Yeah, giving some love to the Louisville swimming and diving team. Currently taking part in the ACC championships this weekend. 5th day of that today. I think it's the final day. Louisville currently in 3rd on the women's side. Pretty distant 3rd from Stanford in 2nd, and clinging on to a tight lead over Cal in 4th. But they've got some good events on the women's side for them today that should potentially get them some more points. It's a tough pool for Gabby Albiero, I think. Have not seen the performances from her that we would have expected in some of these swims, but Louisville does have 2 medals on the women's side, a pair of silvers from, if I find it, because I've had it, pair of silvers from the women's 200 free relay, of which Gabby Albiero was a part, and then another silver from, if I can find it again. I don't know why they do this. Why they create this the way that they do. Yep, Julia Dennis, silver in the 50 free, which incredibly, they're not talking about it in this article specifically, but Dennis's time was 6th best in NCAA history, which means that somebody was even better than that because they won the gold ahead of her. So incredibly fast swims there in the 50 free, but yeah, congratulations to the women so far, and hopefully they can close it out.
Absolutely so.
Hard
Yeah.
to believe that they're wrapping up their season already. Their regular
Yeah.
season.
Right.
'Cause it always surprises me. I mean, technically it's listed as a winter sport, but it still feels early. But yeah, congratulations to them on a good year again, and hopefully more
Certainly
success
so.
ahead.
Certainly so, and it certainly would be a nice place to spend the day today in that warm swimming venue instead of being outdoors. As for me, final thoughts here. Let's kind of take a look at what's left for basketball. Believe it or not, kids, women's basketball has 3 regular season games left before they go down to the final ACC tourney in Greensboro. Hard to believe. Just looking at where is this season gone, my gosh. But certainly 3 huge games for the Cards. UNC, as we discussed earlier in the broadcast, Clemson, which is rapidly getting a little better each time out, and then of course ending up in Notre Dame to visit the Irish up there on. I would assume it would probably be their senior day, maybe not. I don't know, but certainly any time that you have to go up and play in the Purcell Pavilion, it's not a pleasant experience, and they certainly play quite well up there. So then, boom! All of a sudden, on the 5th of March, it's down to the ACC tournament. My oh my, where is this basketball season going? But certainly wish the Cards the best of luck, and hey, wish you the best of luck as well out there, and on what you take on this weekend. Certainly, the roads aren't too bad anymore, so be careful. But be careful of sidewalks and stuff, which can still possibly be slick, and you might end up on your pole. Not a good place to be. So, everybody have a great weekend. And as we like to end the broadcast with, go Cards.